There's a handful of tricks when it comes to lettering, multiple lines, and editing what you've started on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 3. Hi, I'm Sarah from sewingmastery.com, and we're doing all the free video tutorials on this beautiful machine. And I want to get into editing lines of text, changing sizes, and also aligning. Now, I've actually recently been inspired to do some recipe towels and embroider out some fabulous recipes that are part of our family favorite. And we just launched a class called Embroidered Recipe Towels 101. We'll put a link to that course in the description below. It has become quite popular. Plus, I put in 5 additional family recipes that we use at our house and all the tricks it takes to embroider your own recipe on a tea towel and all the things that you need to know before you get started. But we're going to focus on things that a lot of people do with text, whether this is a recipe that we're going to keep adding lines to. This could also relate to a quilt label where you're trying to kind of get as much information on the quilt label as possible, whether it's who it's to, when did you make it, the name of the block or quilt that you made, and all the other special information that you want to have forever part of that quilt. So one of the things I kind of started with is number 1, start with the hoop size that you are going to be embroidering. So for right now, we have the 240 by 150 hoop. That's one of the hoops that comes with this machine. But while we're in here, let's make sure that in the grid and design alignment area that you have turned on alignment. This is going to put up kind of some snap to grids, especially when you want things to kind of be centered from line to line all the way down when you have multiple lines. Now, a lot of people turn the grid on, and this can be helpful for you. I find for me, a grid is a little too busy. And really, I just need to center things. So you'll see why I'm going to do this all without the grid showing. Touch the hoop options to close this down. And I started with my first line of the title of our recipe, but again, quilt labels or other information that you are creating with stitches. But then I'm going to do sugar cookies, Grandma Jean's favorite. So since I've already kind of changed some sizes here, one of the things I want to do is I want to duplicate this size of text for my third line. Now, once I get a couple lines in here, that's when we can use the alignment and get everything lined up before we stitch it out. But let me show you how you can go in and first duplicate that same information. So again, if you've stretched it out or made it taller or skinnier, oh, did you see that blue line down the middle when I'm touching and dragging? That's the center line or alignment that we're talking about. You'll notice that it'll jump to the left or to the right, depending on which way I'm moving it, but really I like it just in the center. Now, since I am going to change this, I'm going to touch and hold, and up will come an edit embroidery text. So it allows you to take something that you've already done, got it just right for maybe the font. This is another way to make sure your font is selected the same from line to line. You don't forget which font you're using. It's just duplicate something that you've already done, delete it like I just did, and then start typing in your new letters. Minimize the keyboard. And now we have this as our new line to move around. Here is where I can just kind of let it come over and to that center and then let go. And then I'll use these arrows to fine tune the distance between line to line. That way, what I see on screen, if I feel like, oh, you know what, there's still a little bit more room between this that I want to close up, what I am seeing is how it's going to stitch. So just move it until it looks balanced to your liking. I saw a question just today come up, and it was, how do I get all the multiple lines on my machine to type out? Well, just a reminder, you do need to do each line separately. So if you were doing a recipe, plan to go to type out each recipe ingredient as a separate line and then work to make it all fit. You'll probably need to pick one of the smaller fonts, especially if you've got a more detailed recipe. But notice that you do have fonts as small as 10 millimeters, and then you can also slide them and squish them in even closer before you're completely done. Now, if you do find that you are working with a lot more text than you have space for, that would be where I would recommend looking into the mysonet.com website, where the embroidery software will allow you to have even more fonts. And then you can just type it out and you can squish it in to make it fit, versus having to do each line individually. But if you're not a computer person, that's okay. You have all the functions that you need right here at your fingertips, and with a little patience. And don't forget, save often. So then that way, if you want to go back and restart one of the older saves because you did something you didn't like, instead of deleting it all the way back, you can just open up one of those saved sections and then pick up where you left off. But yeah, this is how easy it is. But the alignment is wonderful. So if I did want to have everything aligned to the side, let me just select this other one, and if I just slide it slowly and let go when the blue line is showing on my screen, now I would have everything lined up over here on the left side. So if you want left side justified or right side justified, or I think a lot of people like that centered, just remember, start centering off your longest line first, because then this one is going to center off of the previous one right above it here. So that is how easy it is. If you haven't ever saved before, just go ahead, touch save, and then it will let us type in. I might do cookie recipe 1 and cookie recipe 2, and then that way I'll know that I'm all the way through my design where I was in each of those steps if I ever needed to start over. So that is a super easy way to save it. Then when I'm done with my whole design, I'll go back and delete out some of those 1, 2, or 3 files that I had earlier that I don't need anymore. So once again, if you want to check out that embroidered recipe tell 101 course, there are links below, and like all of our courses, there are videos that you can watch for free to see if that course is right for you. You'll also get one of our most favorite recipes ready to embroider, and it's a great gift idea if you're looking for something to show up at an event or brunch, or if people are coming over to your house and you weren't expecting guests. This is the perfect recipe to pull out and pop in the oven. Go check out one of our favorite recipes at our house.